In the previous video, you learned about the interactions of various hormones and how they affect the different stages of the menstrual cycle. Here is another graph that basically conveys the same kind of information, and you can compare this with the one you labeled in the workbook. So just gonna talk a little bit about what happens if fertilization does occur. If the sperm fertilizes the egg in the fallopian tube, then you will create a zygote, and that zygote is going to implant into the uterus. And shortly after that, you are going to develop the placenta, which is ultimately going to be what's connecting the developing fetus, the baby, with the mother. So the developing placenta is going to produce a hormone called HCG, right? The human chorionic gonadotropin. So this HCG is going to maintain the corpus luteum so that it's not going to break down, right? We need the corpus luteum to continue to produce the progesterone so that you can maintain the thickness, the integrity of the endometrium. And you want to keep on doing that until the placenta is capable of producing its own progesterone and estrogen, and that kind of takes over the function of the corpus luteum. So HCG is actually the hormone that people test for if they want to know they're pregnant or not, right? Commercial pregnancy kits test for the presence of HCG in the urine, and it will continue to it will only be produced if you're pregnant, and it will continue to rise throughout pregnancy. Male, if I remember reading this news article about a man just peeing on his girlfriend's pregnancy test kit for fun, and he turns out to be positive, right? It turns out that he has HCG in his urine. So that's actually a bad sign, right? It's a sign that there's some kind of cancer usually growing in the body, right? And certain type of male cancer is associated with production of HCG. And that's it for the female reproductive system. We are going to move on to the male reproductive system now. So here is the mid-sagittal section of the male reproductive system, and we are going to go to the workbook and we will label it together. So let's start with page 77. Let's do this one first, side view, and then we'll do the front view. Right. So here we have the male gonad. The male gonad is going to be this whole thing right there. That is called the testis. Testis. Okay, male gonads, right? Reproductive organs. And that's where the sperm is going to be produced. So sperm production is kind of sensitive to temperature. So the skin that goes around the testis is called the scrotum, and it will pull the testicles farther away from the body when it's too hot, and if it's cold, it will contract and pull the testicle closer to the body. So that way you have the right temperature that allows sperm to be produced optimally. And around the testis, you're going to have this other structure. Okay, so this is collectively, well, there are three parts to it, but we're just gonna use one name for all of these things: H, I, and J. And this whole thing is called the epididymis. Epididymis. So this is where the sperm will mature and become mobile, and will be stored there until they are released. So they kind of have swimming lesson there, learning how to swim. So from the epididymis, the sperm, if they're going to come out, they are going to have to go through a series of tubings, and along the way, various secretions will be added to it to create the semen. So you can't really see it in this picture, so I'm gonna switch to this other one for a second, right? And here you can see we have the testis here again, right? So that would be P, testis, and on top of it, right, where you will allow the sperm to mature and where they will learn how to swim, that is the Epi Epididymis. Okay, so from the epididymis, there are going to be two tubes. There are going to be two tubes. There's going to be one tube right here, and another one here, right, one on each side. And this is called the vas deferens. Vas deferens. Okay, so if the sperm is coming out, then they will go through the vas deferens, and then they will eventually merge with the urethra before coming out. But the point I'm trying to make here is along the way, right, from the epididymis before it comes out, there are going to be various glands, 3 glands to be clear, that will be adding secretions to the sperm to create a semen. So sometimes men, if they don't want to have kids, they could they could cut the vas deferens, right, vasectomy, and that way the semen will have no sperm in it, and therefore they will not be able to have kids. So let's go back here to this diagram. Right, you cannot see the vas deferens in this case, but if I were actually, let's go back to this PowerPoint slide quickly. Right, you can see the testis here. That's the epididymis, and then you will have the vas deferens over here. Okay, so from the side you can see the vas deferens going to eventually connect with this tube inside the prostate gland. Okay, so I'm not sure why they don't have it in this picture, but I suppose we can add our own. Okay, if you want to add the vas deferens, you can definitely do that. Okay, so it's gonna be something like this, okay, and then it's gonna join with the tube here. That's gonna be going through M, and M is the prostate gland. Okay, prostate. So prostate gland is going to be secreting a milky excretion to the sperm, and this milky solution is going to be basic, as in a high pH, because the vagina is acidic environment, so you need to protect the sperm from that acidity by adding a little bit of basic solution to it. You will be able to neutralize that. So alkaline, right, or basic solution, and also the prostate fluid will also enhance the sperm movement. Okay. Now at the let me call it the prostate first. There is the prostate. Okay. So at the back of the prostate, you have two other glands, right? These 2 glands, they are called seminal vesicles. So over here, seminal vesicles. That would be N, seminal vesicle. Okay, so this secretes a fructose-rich solution, right? And the fructose is what's gonna give the sperm the energy to swim against gravity all the way to the fallopian tube to find the eggs. Right? Let's go to the other diagram for a second to find the similar structure. Right? So here we can see you have the prostate, right? Prostate. So that's I, prostate gland. And we are actually looking at this from a posterior view. So you can see the two seminal vesicle here. 1, 2. Seminal vesicle adds a fructose-rich solution to the sperm, so they have nutrients to carry on. And oh, actually, sorry, my mistake. This was not the prostate. This is actually the prostate. Sorry about that. That is the prostate. Okay, prostate gland. The other thing that I erased, that is actually the urinary bladder. Okay, so there, this is the urinary bladder. Okay, so you know, if someone has an enlarged prostate because of inflammation or because of prostate cancer, one of the early symptoms is frequent urination because the enlarged prostate would be pressing on the urinary bladder. Okay, these two tubes are connecting to your urinary bladder, and so they are the ureters. Ureters. Okay. So let's go back here and take a look. Right, we have the prostate. We labeled that already, and on top of it, this structure, that is your urinary bladder, right? Just like we label above, urinary bladder. Okay. So 3 glands, right? That would add solution to the sperm to create a semen. Right? We have the seminal vesicle, we have the prostate, and we have this last one. This last one is called the bulbourethral gland. So number 3 in terms of 3 glands, right? So bulbourethral gland. So this gland will secrete also a basic solution, but it's the timing of the release that differs, that differentiates it from the other ones, right? This gland is going to secrete the milky solution to flush the urinary tract, to flush the urethra before the actual ejaculation. So if there is any kind of remaining urine in there, that fluid will flush that out so that it's not going to affect the sperm. The fluid will also lubricate the genital during intercourse. So 1, 2, 3 together, 3 male reproductive gland that would secrete a mixture to the sperm to create the semen. Right? So over here, these would be the bulbourethral gland. They're also called Cowper's gland if you read them in the textbook, but we will stick with this name, bulbourethral gland. Okay, so a couple other things, right? This here is just the urethra, right? For the sperm to come out, right? This is also the same place where the urine comes out, and here where the vas deferens transitions into the urethra, we have the ejaculatory duct. Okay, this is surrounded by smooth muscle, and the contraction would result in ejaculation, releasing the semen. Let's go back to this one. We still have a few other labels that are missing. Right, so K is pointing at the urethra. Right, urethra, where the urine comes out, where the sperm comes out. This here, you should know by now, is the symphysis pubis. Right, or sometimes it's just called pubic bone, but it's not really correct to call it the pubic bone because it's more like the connection between the two pubis that you have, right? The little cartilage there at your pelvic girdle, right? So you have the same thing here in the female reproductive system, also called symphysis pubis. C and D here, right? They have different names, but really they just belong to the same tissue. We call it the erectile tissue. So when the blood vessel is filled with blood, then the penis is going to be erect. And over here, this is the foreskin, right? It's called foreskin, and some people would remove it, be circumcised, and the foreskin would be removed. And this is just pointing at the head of the penis, so that's called the glans penis. So there is the male reproductive system.